This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net. And the music never dies because there's always somebody out there creating, performing, or sharing someone else's music. And today we have Theresa with us. And the one thing that I'm really amazed at is Theresa, at a very young age, like 11 years old, you were writing songs.
Yeah, I was. I was. From a very young age, I just fell in love with music. And I knew as like, 3, 4 years old that I wanted to be Madonna or Laura Branigan, and I just wanted to perform. So as I was going through the motions, even as a young kid, I started saying like, okay, well, I gotta write music. Like Madonna, like Debbie Gibson, I have to write my songs. So I started, and my first song was called Love is Like Bubblegum. And it was, super catchy. I really leaned towards pop music. And that's where I really dove in, and everything had to be super hooky and rhyme. And yeah, from then on, I had notebooks upon notebooks of songs that I would write. Yeah, and about it, it's funny thinking about it now, though, Karen, because there's so many songs I wrote as this kid 11, 12, 13, even before I was in any like dating anybody, even at those young preteen ages, you're writing about love. You're writing about these experiences you've yet to experience. And I look back and some of that stuff is super prolific now. I'm like, whoa, that must have been me from a former life just kind of chiming through.
Well, I think when we are younger, um, we observe all that
Uh-huh.
because we think that's who we want to be when we get older. Um, I always used to say that I had older female cousins,
Mhm.
and when I would look at them, I wanted to be who they were, whether they were a teacher or a cheerleader. It didn't make any difference. When I was with them, I I could talk in their language and
Yeah.
see myself being there, even though I didn't become any of the things like my cousins have. So it is interesting. We probably do know a lot about love at the age of 11 from just observing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's funny. I also like looked up to my cousins when I was young. I had a couple of cousins who were, about if I was 11, they would be like 18, 19, and
Right.
they were like living their lives and they were getting married. My cousin Gina had gotten married at a very young age in that time. So like, you kind of do, you kind of do go through things just by observing. And that's life though. We're always observing. We're always taking stuff in.
Well, in this morning, I wrote a blog because I've been listening to so many people that a year ago, when the pandemic hit,
Uh-huh.
at first they were in shock. And then they sort of like, okay, well, I'm going to get through this. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write more music. I'm going to perform on YouTube. I'm going to be on Facebook. They all had this great plan and they did it for a good part of a year.
Hmm.
But 2021 hit and all of a sudden everybody was exhausted.
Yeah.
And uh, it's sort of scary because I see
Mhm.
people who still didn't attempt to reach those dreams during
Oh,
the past year. And now they're sitting around going, what now? And the message I have is there's a lot now. We can do what we want to do. It's not going to be like it was in the past.
no,
It's a new road.
absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I also experienced, I think that we were all looking towards 2021, and this new year was going to solve all of our problems, all of our setbacks. Were finally everything was going to get right back to normal. And January 2nd, we're like, okay, I think that our problems are still our problems. We just have to figure out how to move forward. And time does heal, and time does help us evolve, but in the same respect, we need to kind of look inwards and kind of create our own path forward. And sometimes that's how do we How do we create differently? How do we do this differently? Things are not going to be the same. They're
Absolutely.
just not. And that has been really difficult for me at the beginning of this year because I thought that, yes, there was just going to be, and new energy has come slowly but surely into all of our lives. I think we can safely say. But what are we going to do with that new energy? That's just not going to come in and our problems are going to be solved. There has to be something else. And sometimes we do have to dig deep inside of ourselves to figure out what that is. And what's right for us may not be right for the next person or you, Karen, like what's working for me. I think we really do need to create that time for ourselves to think inwardly of how we can move forward.
Well, you are so right because, I spent most of last year, um, just doing what I had been doing. Obviously, I could as podcasting, but I've
Yeah.
noticed in the last 3 months, even a lot of our shows have said, I need to go on hiatus. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay. And I think the reason being is that they expected to wake up on January 1st, 2021, and the light was going to be shining and everything was going to change. And I never thought of it that way. I just said, we're just going to keep looking for that new direction. We're going to keep going forward because it is a new direction. I mean, now that many of us have been vaccinated, we feel safer getting out. We feel safer getting around people. At the same time, we don't want to be around those people who aren't vaccinated or maybe still have a form of the virus because we don't
Yeah.
know how
No,
protected
don't.
we are. So you you have some idols in the music business. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh boy. Um, well, first and foremost, I think that my queen is definitely Madonna. And she's just someone from a young age. And listen, I'm very proud to tell you that I am 41 years old. So I grew up with Madonna when she was first starting out, and from 3, 4 years old, I was watching her on MTV doing some very provocative moves and singing about things that I didn't know what a virgin was when like a virgin came out. I'm sure like many other kids of my age didn't know, but we just knew she was just so cool and she exuded this like confidence and this like coolness that we just wanted to emulate. And like I really love everyone's journey in life. I really am attracted to really interesting journeys, and I read about that often, just for fun these days too. But when I was growing up with Madonna, Madonna was also growing up in a different way. I mean, she was just this woman who had just got huge fame, and as an artist, she was growing as I was growing in like my teens and grew up, and to watch her evolve really has inspired my evolution because she was an artist that was able to kind of stand the test of time in a way that a lot of other artists could not and can't these days. She every year would pass by and she would be reinventing herself with new music, new fashion, new thinking of different ways to be and live, and really didn't give a flying f about what she was, and other people thought of her. And in a world where we have such contrived pop music, I look back at Madonna and I feel that Madonna was very authentic and very true. And I was really, really, it was the whole package with her. It was not only her music, she wrote her songs. She worked really hard to get where she
Sure.
is today. And she still works hard. No matter what you think about her, that woman has worked her tush off. So Madonna is definitely, she is, I'm not worthy. She is like my idol of idols. But in like second place, I have to say Mariah Carey is also right up there. And she has a wonderful autobiography that I recently read. If anybody is a Mariah fan, it's like you're with her. It's like she is your friend. And I'm from Long Island. She's from Long Island. I think that we both had some hard upbringings. And listen, everyone's journey is unique to themselves. I can't compare my journey to your journey or her journey. But she also had some setbacks as a young girl, and that propelled her forward. And she worked really hard and had this tremendous success at such a young age. And to see what she's been able to do with that and how she's been able to grow with that and also cope with that, because a success from a young age like that is really crazy and does a lot of things to you. You got to also be grounded, or seek that help. And but her music, I mean, she is an amazing songwriter, and she produces such amazing vocalizations. I'm not even just talking about her voice. I'm so in awe of what she can do with a melody and the background vocals and all this other stuff that, I mean, probably you don't think about, but I'm thinking I'm hearing her in the background doing a and I'm not, again, it's not even about her voice, but it's the texture of her vocals that I'm just so into. So again, I think they're like two amazing people that I look up to still to this day, that have been very fortunate enough through the years to see their growth and be very much inspired by it.
So in the beginning, you started behind the scenes.
Yes, yes. All these hopes and dreams I had of becoming Madonna, Mariah, or Teresa, as a pop artist. Yeah, I kind of took a back seat. Through my teenage years, I was having some hard times at home. My father was sick. My best friend, he was diagnosed with cancer as well. It was a tough time for my family. And, some of these hopes and dreams that I were having, kind of, I had to do things to kind of survive, right? I had to get a job. I had to go to school. I had to do the responsible thing. And, like, you know, I said to myself, okay, let me, while I was in college, I'm like, why don't I look for internships or part-time jobs or something in music, in entertainment, so I can get closer to it? So that, like, there's a little bit of, me there, and it's just going to all make sense. So I started doing that, and I worked at Jive Records as an intern, and I also then had a little part-time job with Sheryl Crow's manager, and worked in that office, and that was really fun. And as I was starting to grow and I was starting to meet people on that end, it was becoming very I was becoming very successful. And then I landed in advertising as a music producer. And I kept growing, and it just success. And even though I was still trying to make my music work, and I had a band, I was working on some demos. I think we all know that sometimes, I'm not saying I took the easy way out, because it was very hard. What I was doing was very challenging, and I'm super proud of all that work that has gone into
Sure.
my music producer role in the advertising industry that I'm in. But when you're finding such success, and then on this end, you're kind of scraping, you're like, oh, this is so hard, but I'm doing so well over here. I'm going to do this. And you know what? I'm still working in music. I'm still meeting all these awesome people. So you're like, okay, this feels good. This still feels good. I'm not settling. I wasn't settling. So I kept doing that and doing that, and it put my songs into the closet, and met a great guy, kept flying until you know life came to a pause, and I had that blip that we all sometimes have, and my music came back to me, and I rediscovered my passion and my love for my music and the craft that goes behind songwriting. And I said to myself, it was only 2.5 years ago, I'm going to pick this up again. I want to start doing this. And there wasn't a pressure with it. It was more like it just started coming naturally. I started writing again. I started singing again, not just singing in the shower. I was singing my own words. I was feeling, because a lot of feeling and emotion. I'm someone who just can't write a song. Like, I just can't write something. It really has to come from the heart and the soul. So I just started doing it again. And it just took off and it just kept growing. And I'm still doing my advertising, still doing music production, and I love it. I'm so grateful for my role, but I'm also growing as an artist. And that's a hard word to even like accept. I'm an artist. And that took me a while to realize just recently. I'm like, I got to accept that. I got to accept the crazy. It all makes sense.
And it does. And so because you're playing 2 different roles,
Yeah.
you know the role that comes to you and says, "This is what we have to do with your music, okay?
Yep.
This is how we have to get it out there. This is what
Yep.
you need to do." Whereas those of us who are sitting on this end of the screen, we just assume that it's so easy, okay?
Hmm.
You know, you can carry a tune, you can even do more than carry a tune, you can write lyrics, you hear a sound, you know what that sound is that you want with those lyrics, you know how you want to perform it, and to us, it just looks like no big deal.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
yet, the reality is, knowing enough people in the industry, um, it is probably one of the toughest careers anybody can have.
It's tough. It's absolutely tough. And it actually, being the artist, songwriter side of me, and then having this other knowledge, the knowledge that I know what goes behind the scenes in the music industry and advertising, and knowing all of that sometimes hurts. It
Oh,
sometimes you know what's going on behind that curtain, and it's not always easy. Sometimes having that knowledge kind of, I think maybe sometimes holds me back with my artistry, because you I know what the trends are. I know what people are looking for commercials. Like, one of the biggest avenues to making money these days as a singer and a songwriter is getting your song onto a commercial or in a TV show or in a film. And people think it's so easy. And it's really, really hard because everybody in the world is trying to do what you're trying to do. And so sometimes having that knowledge is really difficult. And I've I've been very lucky as of recently. I've been very, very creative. But sometimes I've had it's kind of handcuffed me. Also knowing what other artists are doing, other peers of mine are doing. And oh, they're working with so and so, or this person who's kind of on my level has how many followers? Oh, they got on this Spotify playlist. Yikes. I've had to learn. I can't compare myself to other people. I
mhm.
have to be, this is my journey, and this is the timing is right for me, and it will unfold the way it's supposed to. And I know it's going to be great. But again, it's kind of hard having wearing those two hats and
And you
kind of figuring it all out.
and your message goes to everybody out there, no matter what their career is,
Yes.
um, because we all have dreams and hopes as we're growing up.
Yeah.
And um, my youngest son was a music buff his in school.
Uh-huh.
Um, every time they needed a solo, they came to my son.
Oh, wow.
And uh, he doesn't practice by singing out loud. He practices in his head. So as a mother, for years I was always nervous. Like, how are
Hmm.
you gonna stand in front of 5,000 people at the ball game and sing the national anthem when you haven't practiced? And he'd look at me. He goes, "I've been practicing." No, I mean, I'm in the same house as you. But again, he practiced and this is how he could do it. And he worked with my brother, who is also a music producer, and he put together some music and he's performed it. But he woke up one day and he said, "I love music, so I cannot have this as my career." And his dad and I
Hmm.
looked at him and we said, "Why?" He said, "Because I always want to love it." And he was
Yeah.
learning what was happening behind the scenes when he'd go and spend a week with his uncle to put down one song. And he'd say, he told me I got it in one take, but he made me do it 100 times. And I
Yes.
said, because your uncle is a
Yes.
perfectionist.
Yes.
And even though he's using that first take, maybe you would have even done better on the second or the 100th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But my son is not that type of person. It's like, I did it. It's over with. Now let's go on to
Uh-huh.
something else. So I know how difficult it is in the industry. And then especially when you know what other people are doing. And, I get it here at podcasting. Oh, they got more numbers than me yesterday. Jeez, no, I can't look at that. I have to
Nope.
look at what I'm doing and enjoying. And I measure my success by my yardstick, not somebody else's.
Ab- Absolutely, Karen. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. It's all about what feels right to us. And if it's not fun anymore, or it's becoming this stressful burden for me, something's got to change. You have to read your own barometer. You have to be like, okay, we got to go this way, we got to go that way. And that's just not in our, that's everything we're doing.
Yeah.
That's with friends, that's with family, that's with work. That's in every aspect of our life, is that we really have to trust ourselves and we really have to believe. And again, this is a journey that I've been on for 41 years, but I find that every day there's a new lesson to be had. And as of recently, that balance, because everything was starting to stress me out totally. Like the world as we know it is stressful enough. But then I have a very demanding job, again, that I love, but I also have a dream that is a few jobs in itself. It's singing, it's songwriting. I'm my own manager. I'm my own everything. Like, so you're wearing a bunch of different hats, but doing all of that, and then also trying to be a person, being a wife, being a daughter, being a friend. It was getting so much that I had to kind of sit back for a second and be like, okay, I want to be doing this, but I have to do it where I'm enjoying it and it's not becoming like, yes, there's going to be work. It's going to get hard, but there has to be something that I find joy in. And with everything I'm doing, I'm really trying to just when I feel myself clinching, I have to let it go. I'm a firm believer in meditation. I meditate every morning. It really helps me with my balance. And through the day, if I find myself where I can't let it go, I have to take 5 minutes to myself. I have to breathe. I have to let it be. If I feel like, why am I feeling all of this? Sometimes we don't even know. And then we're like, why am I acting so rude? I feel like I'm acting rude. Oh, because all this pressure that I'm kind of putting on myself. I don't think anybody else is putting the pressure on.
Right.
I'm putting it on myself. So it is really, really important to find that balance and that joy in everything we do. Because then what's the point? Because in my humble opinion, my dreams don't expire. They don't.
No,
I'm going to keep on believing and keep on doing, but I want it. This is my life. This is like this canvas that I'm painting, and I want to make sure that it is the most beautiful picture ever.
that, I wish more people would live their life like you,
Well,
because I think I think our world would be a better place. Um, and hearing what you were saying, it's interesting. I woke up this morning and I had a physical therapy appointment at 7 a.m.
oh boy.
My choice to be there at 7. Um, but I was really in a really down mood. And I
Okay.
had no idea why. Well, it snowed again. So maybe
I.
that's why. But as I was driving to the appointment, I kept saying to myself, I have a choice. I can feel miserable. I can call off my physical therapy appointment and step backwards, which I knew I didn't want to do. So I kept driving forward. Um, when I got to physical therapy and she said, "How are you doing?" I didn't complain. I just said, "I'm going to let you know I'm in this weird spot right now. Okay. And I'm going to do everything I have to do, but it may not look the same."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, thank you for telling me." And all of a sudden, I had all this energy. It was like, I don't know why I
Yep.
was down, but the fact that she heard me. Okay.
Yes.
And I think that's what you're saying. Okay. That instead of keep going when you're feeling like this, when you take that break and you look at it again, you say, okay, I can get back there, but I'm not ready yet. And when I'm
No,
ready, I'll be there.
absolutely. We have to pay attention to what we think and not shove them aside. We have to let our thoughts be and act again, help us navigate through whatever we're doing, whatever we're going through. Our thoughts say a lot about what's going on, and we are not our thoughts.
Right.
I really feel that, okay, I'm feeling a little tired this morning. Be honest.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired this morning and move on. What can I do? Do I need to stay in bed for me, for my where I need to be today? Do I need to stay in bed? Or actually, do I need to get up and inspire myself by just looking outside, having a cup of coffee or tea in my case? Um, it, we really do need to be honest with ourselves and with others and not mask these feelings that we have. And when we're able to kind of confront them, being like, okay, what's up here? I write in my journal, and I'm very, very in touch with myself, and I started this manifestation journal. So every morning after I meditate, I write in a separate journal than my usual journal. And it's one page, I give myself one page, and I just say what I'm feeling as I've woken up from my sleep and I've had my morning meditation. And before I get out of bed, I say, today I feel it's okay to be tired, or I've got to keep going, or it's been a hard week. It's just something that I'm feeling that, like, I get it out on paper and then I can begin my day. And sometimes I don't carry it with me. Sometimes I leave it there. So again, there's these small tools or hacks that we could do to help ourselves. But your honesty this morning was very brave,
Well,
because you could have easily kept going. You could have done that all day and you let it out, and that freed you and that gave you that energy.
and I've learned over the years, it took me a long time to learn it.
Yeah.
Learned over the years that I was only hurting me. The people around me,
Yeah.
they'd go on and do what they want to do anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd be sitting there going like, but I feel miserable. Well, the more you say it, the more miserable you're going to be.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the music you've been writing. Um,
Yeah.
where does it come from?
Um, as I said earlier, it all comes from here. I I wouldn't say I'm envious. That's not the right word, but I see a lot of other songwriters who kind of just write songs. They can get into a room and write a song in like 40 minutes and it's out there and it's like this big pop record, right? I'm somebody who I really need to write from my experience, what I'm feeling, something that's touching me. And that's always been the case, but even more so in the work that I'm currently creating, where I'm working on a song. Right, I started it yesterday. I was working on it again this morning. It's called it's called Vicious Cycle, and it's all about how a lot of what we're talking about here, Karen, so timely, about how sometimes we have these thoughts, we have these goals, but something always kind of like maybe knocks us back, and then we get forward, and then we get knocked back a little bit more, and then we got to go forward, and it's all about kind of being on this wheel and going with the ups and downs and going with the flows and understanding this vicious cycle that we're on in order to live the life that we want to live and to accept it. So like that is just something that I'm been working on. I've been, I talk a lot about past relationships And not only love, but friendships and of, people who come in and out of my life, because I, these these relationships have told me and taught me a lot. And sometimes there's people who are either not in this world because they're not with me right now because they've, are in another place, or they're in another place. So I tend to also write about those relationships, and sometimes how I really wish that somebody was back with me, and how my heart is always open. That's been a lot of, new work that I've been working on. In addition to, I write a lot about life. I write about a lot about that experience of life too, and the magic that's everywhere. So it's really all coming from this internal place, and I never say to myself, I'm going to write a song today. I actually, whenever I say that, nothing comes out. It's when I allow myself, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of like a little tired, or I'm a little tired. I'm just gonna take this shower. And I do the best writing, and I'm my most creative in like the early morning. That's where everything comes out. So whenever I kind of give myself that freedom, I feel that so much comes out. And when I'm working with someone, like a producer or a songwriter, I sometimes find it hard to write on the spot because I need to feel. So I always like going in with an idea. I always like going in with, I came up with this and this, and I need to put it all together, versus sitting there and being like, okay, gotta write.
Right.
I do need some freedom in order to create. Uh, but yeah, it always has to come from here first, though.
And I think any good writing, I don't care if it's writing a blog, a book, a song, um, it's not that you just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write today. In fact,
Yeah.
I typically blog every single day,
Okay.
but for the last month, I basically took a hiatus from it. Not on purpose. It probably was on purpose, but not
Hmm.
consciously on purpose.
Hmm.
Um, because I get up very early in the morning, and that's when I would come in and write. House is quiet, don't have to worry about anybody. But I haven't had those thoughts going through my mind that have made a lot of sense. They've been
Yeah.
short lived. But then 2 days ago, I got up at 5 a.m. as normal, came in the office really to check my email. But before I started checking my email, I opened up Word and it just flowed. And I thought, I guess I just needed a break. And I sort of put an apology out on my website like,
Hmm.
hey, I've been out of it, but I'm back. And uh, and I think we all have to take that time.
Yes.
And if you have to walk into a room and write a song and it's not there, um, people need to understand, hey, it'll come when she's ready. She'll be able to write it out and put the lyrics together and the sound together and produce it and have a hit.
Yeah. It's all about, that's the natural way of being, right? Is And that's creativity at work. And to accept that process is really special. And I could be creative and I'm not writing a song one day. It could be something where something else is happening, or I'm thinking or reading or inspired by something else. It's all the big package. Every little thing I do every day is all adding up. So at the end of the year, or group of years, or whatever, you're looking back and you're like, well, I did that. All of that all added up. And me even taking that little time for myself, whether it's a vacation, a hiatus, whatever we need to do to get to the next. It's all a part of the process, and it's all good. And I think sometimes we have pressure on ourselves, again, ourselves, to perform. And we need to be a little bit kinder to and respect the process a little bit more internally. It's
Absolutely.
tough, but we can do it.
Where can our listeners find your music? Give us some
Okay.
time.
Yes. Well, I'm on all digital streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. My name is Theresa with an H, Theresa. I'm on Instagram at Theresa Music Official. That's also Facebook, Theresa Music Official. And Twitter is Theresa Music underscore. And my website is theresamusicofficial.com.
Well, we'll make sure that we put your social media and your website in the show notes. Uh,
Thank you.
it was so much fun talking to you.
Yes.
Now I am like really, I'm ready to go. Okay. Um,
Yes.
and, and I want people to understand you can wake up in the morning and feel absolutely terrible and not even know why,
Yeah,
but allow something to come in and spark you. And
absolutely.
if you don't do that, um, then you're going to be lonely all by yourself. And
Yeah.
um, now I feel like I should call my husband, tell him I'm in a good mood because he's out on the road somewhere. So,
Yeah. Give them a ring. Give somebody you love a ring today and share your energy with them. They probably need it.
well, hope you can get to Cleveland soon and perform here with
I'd love to.
you in person. And the best of luck. And
Thank
tell your
you.
husband we think it's great that he's supporting local.
Ah, I will. I definitely will. I'm very lucky between my husband and everyone in my life. Very lucky.
Well, we're lucky too to meet you. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day,
guys.
Teresa.
Thank you. You too. Bye.